A lot of people don't know, but most creditors and almost 100% of collection agencies out there legally cannot even collect debt from you. In fact, if you know this one secret loophole, you can actually not only get around not paying this debt that's just lumbering down your credit reports, but you can also get rid of it forever. I have a lot to cover in a very short period of time, so let's get into it. Okay, so just to give you the short of it, collection agencies do not have a contract with you, okay? So if you ever opened up an account with, say, Capital One, and you have a credit card with them, or you did, and they did a charge-off, and then they sold it to a third-party collection agency, say it's called ABC Collection Agency, you actually never had an agreement with them. You don't have a contract with them, you never signed anything with them, you never did business with them. So technically, when they try to collect debt from you, you actually don't have to give them the time of day because you don't actually have any kind of business relationship with them. Now you might argue with me, well, Monica, Capital One has a business relationship. Well, yeah, but that has nothing to do with you. Whatever contracts, whatever side things that they have going on with ABC Collection Agency or whatever collection agency that they're using has nothing to do with you. It's almost like you having done business with your neighbor, and then all of a sudden your neighbor decides to contract his services out through somebody else. Whatever your neighbor does has nothing to do with what you're doing. And if that person decides to come back around and say, hey, well, neighbor Joe said such and such, and he had a relationship with you, and now I have a relationship with them, so therefore now we have a relationship, it's like, no, that's not how it works. So a lot of people don't know that there's this very small, minute loophole that actually disallows from collection agencies in maintaining and stating that they actually have a relationship with you when in fact they don't. So when a lot of people get these phone calls from collection agencies, they panic. They're like, oh no, this collection agency's, collecting on behalf of Capital One or whoever it might be. I better get scared or answer the phone. Well, first of all, try not to ever answer the phone. Never admit to a debt if you happen to be in locking horns with a creditor or collection agency over the phone. They record everything. Do not admit to a debt. Do not say you owe the debt. The second you realize it's a creditor or collection agency trying to collect from you, hang up the damn phone. Don't give them anything. Don't say yes to anything. Don't admit to anything. Because unfortunately, that can actually reset your debt from day one. And we don't want to do that because you might be 3 or 4 years into the debt. And, if you're, say, 4 years into the debt, after the 7th year, it could actually fall off. You don't want to reset that debt to day one and start that 7-year cycle all over again. So avoid all phone calls. Do not respond to any, unless of course you want to negotiate, in which case I strongly urge you to use an attorney to help you negotiate your debt down, because many times an attorney who specializes in debt negotiation, what they can do is actually get the debt massively reduced to even sometimes 10 cents on the dollar. And they can do this, and they know how to get the letters in advance, because you never pay a creditor or collection agency unless you actually have in writing that they're agreeing to do something with your credit, which would be updated favorably in most cases, or settled as agreed in many cases. Ideally, you'll have it removed altogether as if it never existed, but many of them will not do that. So you can have it settled as agreed. So say the debt is $10,000 and it's like a 4-year-old debt, they might actually settle for $1,000, but you have to have somebody get a letter from them agreeing to that. And if you don't have a letter in writing stating that they agree to this smaller debt and that they'll put settled as agreed on your credit reports, then you definitely do not want to do any deal with them. That's why I always recommend that you have a third party do this for you to make sure that the letters, say what they need to say with the right legal lingo on it, but also that you're just taking yourself out of the equation, because it could be very stressful dealing with collection agencies and creditors. So they don't have a relationship with you if it's a creditor or collection agency, I should say, rather. And so what do you do if they're trying to collect or they're sending you all these notices? Well, I recommend that you communicate with them directly in the mail. And say you have something on your credit reports, say it's from ABC Collection Agency, very first thing you should do is always dispute it first, number one, with the credit reporting bureaus. So before you even contact the creditor at all about anything, what you need to do is go to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, or whatever reports that debt is sitting on. You want to make sure that it's on all three. It might be 2 out of 3, you don't know. And so you want to dispute it directly with the credit reporting bureaus and say, this information is incorrect. All your dispute letters will always say the same thing first go around, and that is, this information is incorrect and needs to be updated. And so what they'll do is a 30-day investigation. And then after the 30-day investigation, you'd be surprised because many times these debts, especially collection agencies' debts, will actually fall off your credit. And so if it falls off, then there's nothing more that you need to do. Just make sure that you always keep all the communication that you've received from the credit reporting bureaus, because it'll show you that certain things fell off. And sometimes a different creditor or a collection agency will try to put that same debt back on, and that's illegal. By federal law, they cannot do that. So you need to have proof that it already fell off, and you need to save these in some kind of file folder somewhere and put it under lock and key if you have to, because a lot of times they'll try some shady ass crap and they'll try to put it back on your credit with a different collection agency. And as long as it's from the same originating debt, they cannot do that. And the very second they do that, you say, nope, look at this paper. You already took it off. It was with ABC Collection Agency, so you got to remove it, and they will remove it. Trust me, I've dealt with this before. So you always save every lick of paper that the credit reporting bureaus send to you. So, you know, the Hail Mary is that they'll actually remove it the first time out with the first round of disputes. But say that they don't remove it, or say that only one out of your 4 collection agency, accounts fell off. What do you do with the other 3? So now that we are about to go into the second round of disputes, before you go into the second round of disputes, you might actually want to send something to the creditor directly or the collection agency directly. And you might want to say, this information is incorrect. Therefore, I need to see proof as per federal law that this account is mine. Okay? And you send it by way of certified letter. Make sure that the U.S. Postal Service actually has somebody with a wet signature sign it and date it, your letter, and then they will pop that little postcard with that little signature on it that you will keep in your file folder. And you'll keep it very organized with every creditor and every collection agency and every letter that you sent out. And so what you do is you wait 30 days from the date that you send that letter out, and you will see what they send to you. And you'll be surprised at what the junk that they actually send to you that they think is going to pass off as a legal contract. A statement is not a legal contract. And 90% of the time, they will send you a statement. Okay, I don't know about you. I don't know if you know how to use QuickBooks or not, or Quicken, but I do. And I can actually generate a statement that I can actually do within the next, say, 5 minutes on my computer. And I can actually generate a statement that says, you owe me $1 million. That doesn't mean anything. That's not a legal contract. A statement is not a legal contract. And yet 90% of the time, they will send you a statement. A statement is not a legal contract. There's no signature on there. There's nothing. And then the other 10% of the time, they will send you maybe a credit card application with somebody's typed name in there. Well, that typed name, anybody could have typed your name in there, right? That's not a legal signature. So that's what you'll get the other 10% of the time, is you'll get some kind of credit card application that has your name typed in a box. Typed in a box is not a legal contract, okay? And so what you could do is when you receive that junk from these creditors and collection agencies, you then turn around and you go back to the credit reporting bureaus, which is, again, is Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and say, listen, here's a copy of my card. This is the date that they signed it, and this is the letter that I sent, and then this is the junk that they sent me, which is just a statement that they generated off their computer. This is not a legal agreement. I did not engage in this legal agreement, or this legal agreement is not correct. So therefore, because they were unable to provide, as per federal law, what they had to provide to be able to validate and verify this account, this means that since they did not do this within a 30-day time frame, as per federal law, you have to remove this debt off my credit report as if it never existed at all, okay? So this is the way to start getting this debt off your credit reports, using the leverage of communicating directly with the creditors and the collection agencies. Now remember, this is in step 2. You don't immediately out of the gate start communicating with these people, and here's why. Because if you decide to give them the heads up, say the collection agencies are the easiest to get off your credit, and here's why. Because they have to go to the original creditor to get any of the documentation for your account. So if ABC Collection Agency cannot get Capital One's attention about any verification or validation of the debt within 30 days to then turn around and give it to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, it's going to fall off your credit. And so the worst thing you could do for yourself is to communicate directly with the creditors right off the bat before you do your disputes with the credit bureaus, because you're giving them the red flag warning, I'm about to actually dispute this with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, so I'm going to give you the opportunity, collection agency, to go find this contract from the original creditor. You don't want to do that. So you always dispute first. And if the disputes don't work, then you go directly to the creditor and collection agency and say, as per federal law, you do have to provide proof that this is my account. And the proof has to be obviously beyond a statement. You don't tell them that. But if they send you a statement, which they're going to, right, that's not a validation of debt. Like I said, anybody, any Tom, Dick, or Harry with a computer and a printer can actually create and generate a half-assed invoice or a statement that doesn't mean a damn thing. You are looking for contracts. You're looking for your signature. You're looking for something that's legal, that shows that you have a legal, professional agreement with these people. And 99% of the time, folks, they're not going to have that because it simply doesn't exist, especially in our highly technological age. So this is one really good way and one amazing element of leverage you can use to get a lot of this stuff off of your credit reports. So that is the loophole, and you have to understand that do not be afraid of these creditors, do not be afraid of these collection agencies. Just go in, balls to the walls and just handle it like a pro, right? Don't be afraid of anybody. And people always ask me, well, that doesn't mean that they can't sue you. Well, newsflash, hello, your neighbor can literally sue you right now today if he doesn't like the color of your house, okay? Welcome to the United States of America, our highly litigious society. Anybody can literally sue you for anything. Do you honestly think that letting this junk, this crap that's ruining your credit and ruining your life right now, do you think by letting that sit on your credit report that's preventing you from getting a lawsuit from these creditors? You think that? You honestly logically think that? Because some of you put comments in my comment section down below and you're like, well, Monica, if I have this stuff removed off my credit, they're going to sue me. Did you know that they could sue you anyway, regardless of whether it's on your credit report or not? They can sue you. Did you know that? So why would you want it on your credit report? Because you think that keeping it on your credit report is going to, eliminate a lawsuit. That's not how it works. That's just not how life works, okay? So why not take it off your credit if it's ruining your credit anyway, and then deal with the potential lawsuit later, because they could sue you anyway, regardless of whether it's on your credit report or not. And then if any time that they do sue you, guess what? You want to show up to court. There's so many of you that decide to bury your head in the sand and not show up to court. Believe it or not, a lot of these judges are very lenient on the poor little guy that's getting screwed over by the billion-dollar corporation. And believe it or not, a lot of times judges will rule in your favor as the consumer if you just simply show up to court, because they realize just how scammy a lot of these big conglomerate collection agencies and creditors are. But a lot of you don't show up to court because you're afraid. And when you don't show up to court, that's when you get a judgment and you get a whole bunch of other problems that you could have avoided if you just showed up to court. So again, if you are sued, who cares? Just show up to court, just explain, the situation or whatever the case may be. But usually that doesn't happen because guess what? That costs them a lot of money in legal fees to go after somebody who they think has no money. And that's not a really good business model for them to have. So believe it or not, they really don't want to sue you, okay? It's not worth the money for them. So don't worry about being sued. And if you get sued, show up to court. And a lot of times the judge will rule in your favor just because you had the balls to show up. I mean, imagine that, right? So if you found that this content was helpful, give me a nice thumbs up as well as subscribe to my channel. You could also get my free dispute letters down below in the description box. This will help you with the disputing process when it comes to the credit reporting bureaus. I strongly urge you to mail in the letters. Don't try to do the lazy, easy way online to where you're trying to dispute everything with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion online. Usually never works out in your favor. I always like to mail in the letters, and even better, use the handwriting method of using a handwriting font instead of just a regular Arial or Times New Roman font. You want to make it look like handwriting. And there's a rhyme and a reason that I do this, and if you really need to know what that is, go ahead and check out my other videos, especially my handwriting video that talks exactly about how to do these disputes using these handwritten letters. But do the disputes and send them in and start doing them, and the free dispute letters are down below. And you can actually download them. Just make sure that when you go to my dispute letter area, my dispute letter website, do not use the www part. I keep telling people over and over again, and they still want to put www in there, and they're like, Monica, the website doesn't work. Well, it's because I keep telling you, don't put the www part. Get disputeletters.com. Down below, description box, download my free dispute letters now. All right? And also make sure that you join my free group. If you want my Credit Millionaire book for free as a free download, go to the group link down below. I'm going to start charging for this group soon. There's about 3,000 of you that are part of this group. So you'll be part of an amazing, amazing network of like-minded individuals just like yourself. This is Monica Main signing off, and I will see you in the next video.